and we're coming to you live from just outside the Scottish Parliament in Holyrood, where a pro-independence rally is about to start, organised by Believe in Scotland. The rally is marking 10 years since the 2014 independence referendum, and it should be starting any minute now. It's due to last an hour, it's going to have speakers and music, and we're just waiting for it to begin right now. We're right on the stage behind me. Yeah, the rally's being organised by Believe in Scotland. It's marking 10th anniversary. The various speakers at the rally, they're also going to have music. We've just heard EU bagpipers. Starting now.
In 5 minutes time, so you can relax and get yourself ready for a wonderful evening. Back in 5.
This is Jack.
I reckon we just go now.
There's people singing behind, singing the...
We're on that camera now.
No, that camera's the wide shot. This is to be focused on the centre and on you. I didn't want you to stop talking because there was no...
Yeah, but I can't talk for 5 minutes. Like, I would just ramble. It's just like, what am I talking about? I've already said what's happening.
They started singing, so you could... Zoom in and focus frame on that. Oh, what was nothing there. She was singing. You know, she was singing here. That microphone's live. Stand back by the camera. They were singing here. You were standing right in front of that camera. You couldn't even switch to that camera because you're right face in front of the... Standing there. No, you were standing in front of the camera, had your face right on it. This camera.
I don't know.
I saw you. I mean, you're right in front. I know where I was standing. I was standing filming them. I was standing here. I know where I was standing. The camera, because the camera... Right.
Well, absolutely no reflection on the singing that's going on here this evening, but we are ready to start off. We'll be starting off this evening's proceedings with a short video. And this video was made by Stuart Carr-Brown, and he is a member of the steering group of volunteers involved in Believe in Scotland. And so stand. Actually, and enjoy this short video that starts off this evening's proceedings.
Of propaganda from Better Together, that unholy alliance of the Lib Dems, Labour and the Tories, with scare stories of how an independent Scotland would have higher food, our energy costs would soar, and of course that the only way to stay in the EU tell you about the cost of your weekly shopping, or the prices you now have to pay to heat your own home. A harsh Scottish winter too, all as the result of not having the powers of nation. Let's not forget, Scotland is energy rich in natural resources. Alliance are now all Brexiteers, offering no way back. Market on our doorstep, a union that Scots overwhelmingly want to be in, yet are denied by virtue of being a 33 reasons for that. That's the inbuilt majority that England has in Westminster. It's simple, basic arithmetic. General election over, just what is Scotland being offered? More austerity, only this time wrapped in Labour red. This union has had 10 years to prove its claim of Better Together. It's failed miserably, because we've suffered from their broken promises. It's never told to the Scottish people. For Scotland to have true and meaningful change, to unleash Scotland's true potential, is with independence. That's a fact.
Well, absolutely. Well done to Stuart Carr-Brown for that wonderful video. How true are those words? I'm Green Smith. I've got the great honour of living in this wonderful country. I've been living here for 30 years, and it's an absolute joy to be here this evening. We've got a great lineup for you. And this evening's event, 10 years on, we all can remember what we were doing this time 10 years ago. And so many things have happened since that. One of the things I have to point out to you this evening is this is a live broadcast. You'll see lots of cameras because we are broadcasting all over Scotland and indeed all over the world. So for the people that are here, fáilte. And for the people in your homes, wherever you are enjoying this particular live stream, you are very, very welcome. I'm going to introduce the first speaker of this evening, and it is Gordon McIntyre-Kemp. In 2011, Gordon became the chief executive and one of Scotland's largest and most influential business networks, Believe Business for Scotland. In 2019, he launched Believe in Scotland, the organiser of tonight's event. Believe in Scotland is a grassroots independence campaign group that, as I speak, has 142 local and national indie campaign groups affiliated to it. Gordon is a leading advocate for a switch from neoliberal global capitalism to a well-being socio-economic approach. This approach well-deserved applause. This approach is gaining traction with the well-being economy now recognised and being considered by our policymakers. He is a tireless campaigner and uses his skills as an economist to provide the statistics to back up the statements. His book on Scotland's economy, Scotland the Brief, has now sold more than 70,000 copies. Brace yourself as he blasts home some stark realities of what must happen to achieve an independent Scotland. A warm welcome to Gordon McIntyre-Kemp.
Hello, Edinburgh. And hello to everyone who's at our events happening simultaneously in Orkney and Dumfries and in Aberdeen and also other events in Stirling and Inverness, and to everybody at home watching this rally and outside broadcast. Now, I want to start by saying that we've got to understand that 10 years ago, Scotland gave one last chance to the Union. But boy, did they mess that up. They've messed it up so completely that the powers that be are actually terrified of a second independence referendum, because they have come to understand what we already know, and that is if there was another referendum, we would not lose again. Let's be clear, this broken union is actually being held together only by an unhealthy disrespect for democracy by Westminster. That's also an unhealthy disrespect of the people of Scotland, who in a poll this week said they wanted a second independence referendum. Now, 10 years ago tonight, I was at the count in Glasgow, and every ward in Glasgow was turning yes, and I started to think maybe it's going to happen. But as the Chief Executive Business for Scotland, the Pro-Independence Business Network, who I will proudly tell you is the most active and the biggest spending registered campaign group on either side of the campaign, I had people in every single county across Scotland, and the news coming in wasn't so good from elsewhere. Other than Dundee, of course, and a few other places. When the final result was announced, I decided, I was scunnered, and I guess you all were too. So I decided to walk home. Now, I live a long way from the Emirates Arena, so it took me 4.5 hours, maybe even 5 hours to walk home, and trust me, I was not wearing walking shoes. So when I finally got home, round about 6 o'clock in the morning, I poured myself a double whiskey. Might have been a quadruple. I took my socks and shoes off, and I looked at my blistered and bleeding feet, and I started smiling, started laughing. And I shouted at the top of my voice, woke the whole house up. I shouted, "This is not over." And I hadn't intended to dedicate my life to independence, but that was the moment I realized that I was not going to stop until we were independent, and I know that every one of you feels exactly the same way. To those of you who campaigned, who came together in this Yes family that we created in 2014, for those of you that have campaigned for the decades since and who campaigned for the decades beforehand to build that platform, I salute you. You're the real heroes of the independence movement. And for those of you that are new to our cause, a very, very warm welcome. Now, some of you may be feeling scunnered again after the last general election result. But I want to say that we need to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and get ready to redouble our efforts. And we need to get our independence movement back to how it was in 2014. We need to bring the Yes family back together. We need to put aside our differences and campaign as one. And if we do that, we will create an unstoppable tide that will wash away all the barriers to independence. We don't need a referendum, though. That's one of the things we've got to realize now. There has been a focus on having a referendum. What we need is a new national conversation like we had in 2014, an enlightening situation where we're out there talking to people about their hopes and dreams to build a better Scotland. That's what moved the polls. not the politics, not the politicians, not the TV debates. It was the conversation that was happening all across Scotland, and the dinner table in the pub, at the water cooler at work. We can have that conversation again. And Believe in Scotland has actually created a plan to get that conversation going, a new national conversation. And it's called the Citizens' Convention. The plan, thank you, few applause there. The plan, first time an actual detailed policy paper about independence has actually got a round of applause. This plan is to take the best ideas from around the world, from experts and governments around the world, as to how to develop a nation that's fit for this century, to face the challenges of this century. And then we take that on the road, a roadshow around Scotland, take it to the Scottish people, and we ask them what they want. We capture the hopes and dreams, their aspirations for a better Scotland. And once we have those hopes and dreams, we put them in a manifesto, and we say to the UK government, can you deliver the type of nation that the people of Scotland want? And when they say no, and when it is clear that they don't even want to try, that's when the people of Scotland will come to independence in their droves, because they realise that the nation they want to create can only be created through independence. That's one of the 3 foundation stones upon which we can build a new movement towards independence. The second foundation stone is a creative, progressive, well-funded and professional national grassroots-led campaign that goes out and evangelizes and takes the campaign to the people and talks not to herself on social media, but talks to the undecided. And Believe in Scotland is that campaign. The third foundation is a professional, competent, election-winning political arm of the campaign. And I guess there's some work to be done on that right now. But if we can actually get all 3 of these foundation stones in place, we can really push independence support into the 50s, maybe even to the 60s. What the government needs to do, what the Scottish government needs to do, is it needs to put independence at the heart of all of its policies. Whenever they complain about cuts from Westminster, they need to point out that this would not be happening if we were independent. Every time they say, this is how we think we address things like pensioner poverty, like child poverty, they have to point out that this is how we would do things differently in an independent Scotland. Put it at the top of the agenda, and then independence will rise up the agenda of the Scottish people. So tonight I issue a challenge to the Scottish Government. Fund the Citizens' Convention. Get Scotland talking again about how good independence could be, and put us back on the road to nationhood. Now, we've been pivoting our campaign for a year and a bit now away from party politics, away from policy discussions and debates, towards creativity, towards Scotland's culture, towards having more fun, towards being how it was in 2014 when we actually enjoyed campaigning. And that's what made more people turn up. And that's what made the polls move. Earlier this year, we piloted an event called Creating Scotland, and we got comedians and singers, we got playwrights and young actors, we got authors and musicians, and had a great day of Scottish culture. No politics, but what we did was we talked about how we could build a better Scotland. We asked people to write in a bit of paper, just like we have in our wish trees over there. Please go to the wish trees, create a wish. We say to people, so the independent supporters at these events, we say, tell us why you believe in Scotland, and pin that to the wish tree. To the undecided, we say, if you had a magic wand, what's the one thing you would change about Scotland? And believe me, the things they want to change about Scotland cannot be delivered by the Union. It can only be delivered by independence, but they don't realise that until they actually have that conversation. You're going to see one of the performances from that event later on, a video of that there, and we'll be rolling Creating Scotland events out right across the country in 2025. In terms of getting the Yes family back together, I want to say right now that I am issuing another challenge. No, not another challenge. I am offering the hand of friendship on behalf of Believe in Scotland. We want to reach out to everyone, every think tank, every yes group, every political party across the nation and say, we want to work with you. We want to get together again so as we can come together with one goal, and that is delivering independence. Let's put aside all that's happened. Let's put aside the turf wars. Let's put aside all the slights, imagined or real, and let's actually say, what's our shared goal? What are our shared values? And let's make it happen. And people have been doing some TV and radio interviews just beforehand there, and they keep on saying, so do you expect there to be a referendum? No, I don't, because they know they're going to lose if they give us another referendum. But what we can do is, if we get independent support moving, if this national conversation moves independent support in the right direction, then a de facto win at Holyrood 26 is still on the cards if everybody starts working now. I want to end with this one thought, this key question. And that is, this is not a wake, it's not a celebration. I hope it's a new beginning. But we lost. The other side won. Where are their celebrations? Where are their grassroots? Where are their marches and rallies for no? Why aren't they celebrating the ongoing austerity? Why aren't they celebrating taking away the pensioners' fuel allowance? Why aren't they celebrating taking away their free BBC licenses? Why aren't they celebrating a totally unavoidable cost of living crisis that sent hundreds of thousands of families across the UK to food banks? Why aren't they celebrating our mortgages costing more? And most of all, why are they not celebrating Brexit? All the jobs and the hundreds of millions of pounds of exports that have been lost because of it, and all the revenues associated with that, which would actually allow us not to live under this Labour austerity government. So my message to you tonight is, don't be disheartened. Be proud of who you are. Be proud that you've come here tonight. Be proud that you're gathering elsewhere around Scotland or watching on the live feed. Be proud of your belief and the fact that you keep on keeping on and campaigning for independence. But most of all, be proud of the knowledge that you are going to be a key factor in delivering Scotland back to its natural state as an independent nation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's the task been set. It's all up to every single one of us who are here tonight and who are tuning in and listening live. To follow Gordon McIntyre-Kemp, and thank you very much, Gordon, we have a wonderful creative and a superb voice in the form of Aileen Carr. Aileen was born and brought up in the How of Strathmore. She has been passionate about Scottish traditional music since the days of the early Blair Gowrie folk festivals. As a former teacher of children with additional support needs, she is also passionate about inclusion and educational opportunities for young people with additional support needs. She was inducted into the Scottish Traditional Music Hall of Fame last year for her services to performance. Aileen's optimism and vision for an independent Scotland is reflected in her music, and we are delighted to welcome her to this stage to share her vision this evening. Aileen.
Hello. I believe that the people of Scotland should have the freedom to make the choices that we feel are right for us in Scotland. I believe that we should be able to use Scotland's resources to enrich the people and the lives of people in Scotland. And I also believe that we should build on the progress that we've made towards a fairer and a more inclusive society. And while we're not there yet, I believe the best way to do that is through independence. And in the words of this song, say will we yet, when we fell, we aye got up again, and say will we yet. The song is called Say Will We Yet, and the chorus is say will we yet, and whatever the second last line of the verse is, and I'm hoping you're all going to sing your hearts out. Say will we yet. Come sit down, my cronies, yes, ye crack, let the wind take the care of this life on its back. Our hearts to despondency we never will submit. We've always been provided for, and say will we yet, and say yet, and say will we yet. We've always been provided for, and say will we yet. Then bring us a tankard o' nappy brown ale. It will comfort our hearts and enliven the tale. We'll aye be the merrier we sit when we've drunk together mony's the time, and say will we yet, and say will we yet, and say will we yet. For we've drunk together mony's the time, and say will we yet. Here's a health to the farmer, and prosper his plough, rewarding his idle toil all the year through. His seed time and harvest we ever did get. We've lippin' die to Providence, and say will we yet, and say will we yet, and say will we yet. We've lippin' die to Providence, and say will we yet. Let the glass take its course, ye merrily round, for the sun it will rise, though the moon has gone down, until the hoose be running round about. It's time enough to flit. When we fell, we aye got up again, and say will we yet, and say we yet, and say, will we yet? When we fell, we aye got up again, and say, will we yet? And say, yet, and say, will we yet? When we fell, we aye got up again, and say, will we yet? Thank you.
What a voice, and what an amazing setting for that song, Aileen Carr there. Brilliant, brilliant. It is a huge pleasure of mine to introduce my fellow countrywoman in the form of Leslie Riddoch. Leslie, to give you just a brief outline, a journalist, writer, filmmaker, podcaster, and a strong, consistent and informed campaigner for independence for this country. Often citing our Nordic neighbours as an example of how independence works, Leslie has taken their example and her message to communities all over Scotland. Formidable and fearless is how I describe this incredible woman. Please give a rousing welcome to Leslie Riddoch.
You know, one thing when Gordon was saying what you would wish for, just one day that stays the same temperature from the beginning to the end. I mean, are you freezing, you guys? You're still here, eh? That's what we're like. That's what this country is like. Blooming changeable in some respects. I just wanted to say, Aileen, what a voice the girl's got. I mean, amazing. And it's great to be reminded. I could feel you guys were singing Hamish Henderson's Freedom Come All You at the start, and all part your elbows. I can feel Hamish looking down at that and glowing. And that's important for us to remember, because there's so many people have come before us, conceptualized where we've got now, thought about our country, created its literature, its music, and they're all part of this, whether they're here today or not. Now, a lot of people have asked me, do you feel optimistic? And I might be a bit weird, but yes, I do, actually. Honestly, yes, I do. It may not come naturally to us as Scots, but it's time to look on the bright side. You know, right now, we're sitting with opinion polls that have about 50%, pretty constantly, support for independence. And yet, when you get on the media, you're asked every time if independence is dead. Now, there's a wee logical problem with that. How can attracts the support of half the population of our country be dead? And if it is, then what about the other side of the equation? Because if the union's only attracting 50%, maybe it's dead. Now, I know that if you're a movement that's trying to create change, you have to do better than the status quo. And I mean, that's where we're stuck. But, you know, if half the population equals a dead movement, I'm a member of the House of Lords. Absolutely not. And the other thing, just while we're at it, is no independent supporting Scot is. And that's a line in the sand that was drawn more than 10 years ago that remains. That parcel of rogues, no, not for us. It's corrupt, it's out of date, it's archaic, it's part of what's totally wrong with Britain. And we haven't been tempted for a minute.
There are problems with the independence campaign at the moment. There's no point denying it. There's the damaging court case that's hanging out of the SNP. There's the Supreme Court ruling that the world's most powerfully devolved parliament. No, I was waiting for a louder laugh than that. Okay, you know, because, I mean, it's shocking that we're sitting beside a parliament, our parliament, and regularly we want this to be the world's most powerfully devolved or independent parliament. But come on, Douglas Alexander was saying it again today. It's a lie. This is not the world's most powerfully devolved. I mean, if you want to look at any of the wee films, the Faroes, for example, the tiny little Faroes, has got the power to decide to remain outside the EU while Denmark joined. Now, I'd say that's pretty powerful. Douglas, you want to catch yourself on, lad. There's far more powerfully devolved parliaments than ours. We're nowhere near it. But anyway, we've got that problem that the Supreme Court has decided that effectively the world's most powerfully devolved parliament cannot consult its own citizens on the colour of the paintwork. That's how powerful this parliament is. It's not allowed. We've got a situation where membership of the SNP is down, votes for the SNP are down. You could be forgiven for thinking everything's down. Attendance at these marches is down, let's be honest. And of course, that's something that skeptics like to point out. I'm sort of looking at you, George Fawkes. I'm sure you're watching tonight because you seem to have nothing better to do of an evening than watch us do stuff, you know, but you're welcome. You're welcome. It's strange that the folk who quibbled about the vast numbers that were on the streets years ago are now touting those same numbers as evidence that everything's in decline. Whatever. Of course, if size matters, these marches are smaller. If you without power in the room, as it was in 2014, it's almost impossible to make a distant future goal matter to people more than the here and now, especially when life's become so difficult. But does that mean yes is over? Some audience, and it's not even pantomime season yet. What do you like? Might divide you along the middle and start to get this thing moving. What I think it means is that young folk are keeping their collective power informed commitment to a different, better future for Scotland. It's not giddy, but it's unshakable. It's not temporary, it's permanent. It's still love. It's just not head over heels right now. And it's ready to go again at the drop of a seriously viable hat. Now, this phase that we're in, it might not be as dramatic as the marches, the meetings, the films, and the street stalls, everything you've put your energy into over the last 10 years. And it's nowhere near as vigorous as many of us would like. I'd like to ask, where's the SNP campaign on the theft of our energy resources right now? Our renewable energy is being stolen the way our oil and gas were removed, and we are saddled with the highest charges in the UK and the highest levels of fuel poverty in Europe. Where's the campaign? Is the land tax to right the wrongs of feudal centuries? Essentially, to borrow a phrase of a pal of mine, where is the growl? If the SNP doesn't pay attention, this movement has the capacity to act. So be warned. But meantime, let's not turn our noses up at a solid, settled 50% plus, ready to be boosted when the moment arises, because we're still here and we are stubborn buggers. Now, 10 years ago, I stood almost on this spot in the aftermath of the no vote, trying to string a sentence together for TV cameras in the media village that was here. And in all of that melee, I looked down and saw the actor, Brian Cox. I'd managed to keep it going all the way through those interviews, but when I saw that friendly face, I started to greet. And I'll never forget Brian's response because it's kept me going over the last 10 years. He put his hands on my arms, looked me dead in the eyes with that, should we just say, arresting Logan Roy kind of look, and said, "Leslie, the issues are not resolved." And he was totally right then. He's absolutely right now. Because 10 years on, all the problems with Westminster remain with knobs on. We've got courtesy of Westminster. We have a massive energy theft, check. We have chronic fuel poverty, check. We have an economy ruined by Brexit, check. We have EU citizenship gone despite promises to the contrary, check. We are still using first past the post alone in Europe with Belarus, check. We are still hosting nuclear weapons on an unwilling Clyde, check. We are still unable to put democracy first and back a ceasefire in Gaza, check. So, we're also hearing Westminster moan about us creating the constant distraction of independence instead of getting on with bread and butter policies, when they have the means to end that distraction now by granting us the chance to have a second vote. It's crazy. And of course, we're still watching designer dresses get supplied to the next Prime Minister's wife. Check. It's like Boris and Carrie all over again. So today we are doing a weird thing. We're celebrating a defeat because despite everything, we are still yes. And that's a victory. It's a victory against cynicism, dejection, and the combined of unionism and the entire media bar one outlet, The National, which is also 10 this year. It's also a victory because research makes the case for optimism. As Professor Sir John Curtis, let's give him his full Sunday name, has told us just in the last week, yes lost the ballot, but it won the campaign. Now, that's not the view of a card-carrying yeser. That's an objective view by an academic. He thinks that years of polling that he's surveyed leads him to say that Scots think leaving the UK and joining the EU will be better for Scotland's economy than the opposite. That's quite a place to have reached. And if we look at another academic, Professor Lindsay Patterson of Edinburgh University, again, not at all a supporter of independence, but he has done years of survey analysis since 1979 and come up with this. Scottish nationalism is not a rebellion by the left behind against elites. The core are well-educated, liberal-minded graduates, and independence has come to be associated with the future. It reflects Scottish nationalism's rhetoric that Britain is stuck in the past. That ideological message is now entrenched amongst younger voters. Well, glory be. Indeed, Professor Patterson predicts 60% plus support for independence by the early 2030s. Now, of course, it's all not in the bag. But perhaps just for one day, for this day, we can all stop beating ourselves up. Will Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond ever speak to each other again? Frankly, for me, it's just not a big priority. Have we got a certain route to independence? No. Is anything in this life certain? No. Are the Scottish media covering this rally? No. with Scotland's democratic deficit? Have they written off half a population? And can that make yesers sometimes feel hesitant and small? Yeah. But don't, because a minor miracle is happening. Despite all of this, we are still yes. Should we complain? Should we complain because the SNP leadership doesn't set the heather alight? Should we worry that somehow Scottish Labour might win every seat in Scotland? It's not going to happen. And should we care if the experts decide that the very word yes is last season? I'm still yes. Yes is the most positive word in the world apart from I. Gaelic and Scots more colourful and powerful than received pronunciation? Yes. Is a wet Thursday in Saltcoats replete with possibility? Yes. Is a country awash with wind, wave, tide, and hydropower, and 2 days of sun a tasty proposition? Yes. Is this country more beautiful, resourceful, and welcoming than most? On a good day, are we all Jock Tamson's bairns? Do we thank bus drivers when we get off? Are we still European in our heads and hearts? Is our future amongst the other small countries of the North Atlantic? It's astonishing and admirable that people can watch this tonight at home, courtesy of the hardworking volunteers at Independence Live, who need you to chuck cash into their crowdfunder so they can continue to do this work. And you will do it, won't you? So, finally, do we all send our love to Janie Godley, who's Afi Ne Wheel? Has a generation passed since 2014? Is it priceless hypocrisy for Labour and the Tories to ignore the Brexit-related case for independence? And friends, 10 years on, are we 100% ready for independence now? Yes. Thank you.
The gal. Couldn't you just freeze dry her and sprinkle her on your porridge every morning? Leslie, thank you so much for those inspiring and optimistic words. Next up, to keep the mood going, we have got Graham Brown, and he's here to bring you, to get you clapping, dancing, and flying your flags higher than ever before. Please don't disappoint. Here is Graham Brown.
That sounded like one fan. Yeah, my mum's here. She's down there. Hello, Edinburgh. Hello, Scotland, and indeed, hello, the world. Union man said that we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said that we can't have our own pot of gold. Union man said that you'll starve if you're old. Union man said we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said you'd be out in the cold and the dark. Said that your land has no heart. Union man said that it's all in the past. Sight watch us rise into the sky. See the passion. Along in the lives. Scotland calls. So watch us rise. Burn Tory men tell us that we are too. Won by the man on TV. There's too many questions and too many answers, you see. Points me stories and lies by the BBC. I can see the road ahead, we're so close. We traveled so far, everyone knows. We must say thanks to the ones who fought for us now. Together we stand. So watch us rise into the sky. Freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Stand in the square, show us you care, fly your flags. Join us, you won't be the last. To the man, she will rise by the one. Oh, Scotland's. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Clap your hands. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We will know in the lies. Scotland calls, just rise. So watch us rise. Just rise. Thank you so much. Ladies and gents, 10 years ago, my son Kyle here was only 11 years old. He was 11, but he was brought up with all these songs that I'm singing to you guys. Because I've been campaigning for this for about 15 or 16 years now. Way before we had the referendum. And I've played almost every rally there was known so far. But seeing you guys here tonight is amazing. This is incredible. And there's a misconception in Scotland right now, and indeed in the UK, where the media is telling us that support for independence is on the fall. But it's not, I can assure you. All these hundreds of yes groups all over Scotland are grouping together, and we're actually stronger than ever. Don't let the media lie to you. This song was written back in 2011. It's simply called I Can Hear the Nation.
distant voices crying. I can hear the nation tonight. Yeah, it's hand clapping time again. Come on, let's hear those hands. It helps you keep warm anyway. Yeah, feels good. As the thunder in the fields, they echo through my mind. It takes me to another place with beauty all around. In dreams of gold, where freedom is never sold. Can you hear the nation tonight? Ladies and gents, put your hands together for Kyle Brown on guitar. Myself, I'm Graham Brown. We are from the band Stone Preachers. Thank you so much for being here tonight. A big hand for Believe in Scotland. And also the sound engineers who never get a thanks. Enjoy the rest of your night. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. When you hear the distant loud and clear, 1,000 voices cry. Tonight. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride in the distant light. Loud and clear, 1,000 voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Thank you so much, ladies and gents.
A great track. Next up, we have got Richard Walker. And our next speaker, he was the former Sunday Herald editor. It was Richard Walker who brought the paper out for independence in 2014. And then 12 months later, he became the founding editor of The National. The National is still the only newspaper to support independence. His quest for independence is unwavering, so let's hear how he believes the campaign is going 10 years on. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Richard Walker.
Good evening, how are you doing? You are looking fantastic. Thank you so much, Gordon, for the invitation to speak this evening. And I will remember that song we've just heard, and Hearing the Nation. I remember that this day 10 years ago, I thought I was hearing the nation. I was expecting a yes victory. The atmosphere in Glasgow for weeks led me to believe it was in the bag. I'll never forget that day 10 years ago. I'll never forget that feeling that we were on the cusp of a change, the like of which we had never seen before. Energy and hope were everywhere. I spent that day planning the Sunday Herald for the weekend, the Sunday Herald that would report a yes victory in the referendum. We planned a joyous issue. We wanted to capture the mood of the nation. We were the only newspaper to support independence, and we felt it was down to us to report properly the celebration and the feeling of freedom that a yes vote would bring. I spent the next morning dismantling all those plans. I'm not going to lie, it was a terrible morning. I The opportunity to transform our country for the better. I felt, as we all felt, that independence had slipped through our fingers. That day, you could just about discern it, just amid the tears that people had been crying. You could feel something was actually happening. You could feel a defiance. You could feel that the spirit was rising. You could feel that it was not over. It was not finished. Social media started to respond. Social media started to say that we had not finished. We were not at the end of the journey. That this was not the end of something, but this was the beginning. There was a refusal to stand down. There was a refusal to go back into our box. A couple of hours later, we felt that the Yes movement was up and fighting once again. I tweeted at that time how proud the Sunday Herald had been to give a voice to the 45% who had voted for independence. I felt that it was a disgrace that not one voice in the media, not one newspaper, not one news organisation supported independence. And I still can't understand how that opportunity is gone and we are still left with one newspaper. But yeah, I was proud for that to happen. And the response to that tweet made me think that the campaign was just beginning, the campaign would continue, and that really we needed another newspaper. And I guess I can trace back the whole journey and the whole story of the National to that response to that tweet. Because later on, we would go on to found the National, and the National, which everybody told us was going to die, it would be finished within a week. The people who owned our company said, you can have a week, you can have 1 week to show that there's a readership for the National. This week, or this month, we support and we celebrate the National's 10th birthday. All the critics were proved wrong. The National still exists to support Yes. Still here, still Yes. So yeah, we put our plans back into place, and we said we are not going to produce an issue to mourn, to cry, to look at the end of some great movement. We were going to produce an issue to celebrate the birth of the Yes movement, and that is what we did. We put a picture of a George Square rally in the front, and we used inspirational quotes from the campaign, and we tried to show that we had started something, and the Yes movement was going to continue it, and the Yes movement was going to grow. And that story, that issue, sold more than we had sold for years, and it was an amazing response, and we were so pleased, and I remain so grateful to all of you and to all of the movement who have bought the paper and supported it, and so that we are still here. And we are still here together, and we are still Yes. So yeah, we supported a movement and celebrated a movement that had campaigned and argued for change and change minds. And against all the odds, we pushed the vote to within touching distance of a victory. A movement that was still very much alive. And looking out over this gathering today, it's still very much alive. And we'll be alive until we bring independence home, and still we reach our goal, which we will do. Because that's why we're here tonight. We're not here to celebrate a failure. We're not here to mourn. We're here to share with thousands of people all over the country who share a dream, to remember the referendum of 2014 was not the end of something, but the beginning. We're here to celebrate an event which woke Scotland up and made it a different country. A country that is moving relentlessly towards taking control of its own destiny. In 2014, Scotland became alive to the possibility of change. The debate was everywhere, at work, at home, street corners, We talked about our place in Europe. We talked about our currency. We talked about our voting system. The potential to make our country better, fairer, more just, more welcoming, more confident. Young and old, we're all energised and galvanised to take part in a great debate and think about those issues. Scotland has now one of the most politically active populations in the world and one of the most politically educated populations in the world, because we had to become educated ourselves. We took it upon ourselves to become educated, so that when we heard the lies of Better Together, we saw them for what they were, and we still see them today for what they are. Lies, but we do not believe them. Because once a country wakes up in the way that Scotland woke up in 2014, it doesn't go back to sleep. It doesn't go back in its box. It doesn't do what it's told. It stays alive to the possibilities. It stays alive to the potential to change. So that weekend, the Sunday Herald celebrated. We sent a message. We're still here. We're still yes. The Sunday Herald we produced that weekend was upbeat and positive and joyous. It was an achievement I still remain proud of, and it paved the way for the National, which is, as I said, celebrating its 10th anniversary, our birthday, later on this year. So we stand here tonight, 10 years later. In many senses, these are dark days. The storm clouds of austerity continue to gather. The government, the Westminster government's promises of better days have been shattered. Our hopes have been betrayed. We see Labour for what they are, and what they are is a party which will do the Tories' bidding, which will continue to impose austerity on us and stand in the way of our democratic desire. And we will not stand for it, and we will not take it. So we know that independence still offers the hope that we recognised in 2014. It still represents the promise of a better life, a better country. It offers a break from the same old, which keeps us in our place. We'll not allow the pro-union parties to deny us forever. Now, Gordon is right when he says that there are many strands to the campaign's future. The national conversation that he suggests is a great idea, and it will change minds. Conversations between us and our neighbours change minds. That's how you produce change. He's right again to say that culture plays a great part in our movement, and we've heard it tonight. Brilliant singing, great songs. Scottish culture is among the best and finest in the world, and it's been too long dismissed as nonsense. And now we need to reclaim that for our movement, and we are doing so. And there are all these different strands. But I believe we need a vote. I believe that we will win the vote, and I believe we will get it. I believe that it's our job to take the power and have the vote. And we need to tell our politicians in that building there that we want a vote, and we don't want a Section 30. We don't want Westminster's permission to have the vote. It's us, it's our country, it's our future, and we will have a vote on it when we want it. We've done what the politicians asked of us. They said, wait. And we waited, and it wasn't such a bad thing. I thought I could see the point of it. We waited, we were reasonable, we argued, we made the point. We waited, they said now is not the time. We went back later and they said no, now's still not the time. And we know, really we know, now is never going to be the time for a vote. But we don't wait anymore. We've had it with waiting. We've had it with being responsible. We want a vote, and we want it whenever we think we can win it. And we will win it. One of the reasons that we win it is that we know now what happens when we vote no. We've seen it. We've lived through it. Will we ever again believe the promises that the Better Together parties make? No. Will we ever again swallow the vows of the Westminster parties? No. Made by the love bombs of the rich and the famous living high in the hog outside our borders? No. We will not. The vows will be ignored. We know they'll be ignored because they have been ignored. We know the promises that they make. They might sound fantastic, but they are empty words and they will never come to pass. And we will not listen to them again. We will not be allowed, we will never be allowed to lead the union from the front. We will be ordered to the back of the queue. We will be ordered to do as we're told. We now know what a no vote really means. We know what Better Together promise. We know what it means. We've seen it, we suffer from it, and we know one thing. We will never, ever be fooled again. Thank you very much.
You have been a superb audience. Thank you very much. And for those of you tuning in from home, it is a balmy, warm evening here in Edinburgh. So now for our final speech tonight, or final talker tonight. It is Andrew Barr. Andrew is an artist, writer and illustrator with some of the most beautiful books to his credit. In 2011, at the age of 19, Andrew became one of the founding members of the National Collective, the cultural campaign for a yes vote in the run-up to the referendum. Ladies and gentlemen, a rip-roaring welcome to Andrew Barr.
Hello. I was a bit nervous about doing this tonight, but as soon as I got here and I saw all of you, I just thought, do you know what? These are my people. This is my movement. I'm so proud to be part of this movement with you. So thank you for having me. So I was part of National Collective, the cultural campaign for independence in the run-up to 2014. And the whole idea behind National Collective was that building a new country is a creative act. So we worked with a lot of writers and artists, but it didn't actually matter if people personally thought that they were creative or not, because the whole purpose was to encourage everybody in society to think more imaginatively about the possibilities of the future. Most of the successful independence movements in history have coincided with a movement of culture, including artists and writers and musicians. Because culture isn't just about a bit of entertainment on the side of politics. Culture is about actively engaging the imagination. It's about setting aside all of the limitations that the Union places upon us about who we are and who we can be. It's about opening up the infinite possibilities for Scotland to reimagine and reinvent itself with independence. I would like to see culture and creativity play a bigger part in the role of the future independence campaign. But when I talk about culture, I'm not necessarily talking about people's identity. I'm talking about culture as in, how do we encourage people to feel empowered? How do we encourage people to imagine the different possibilities? How do we encourage people to believe that they themselves are able and capable of building something better than the status quo? This is all related to culture. And of course, the economics of independence are really important. But I think there also needs to be space to have a deeper conversation about Scotland's future, because independence is not simply a financial transaction. Independence is about the empowerment and self-belief and self-determination of the entire community of Scotland. Independence is about Scotland finding new ways to express itself, being able to articulate ourselves in our own voices as part of the international community. That's why it's connected, because self-expression and self-determination are two sides of the same coin. And let's not forget that culture also played a part in the No campaign, because they tried to convince us that staying part of the union was all about togetherness. That was their kind of cultural argument. But this was a completely misleading argument, because if the UK is all about togetherness, then why is it governed in the way it is governed? Why is it one of the most unequal countries? Why is there such a significant gap between the rich and the poor? Why are the Scottish people denied their democratic rights to decide their own future? It is our vision of an independent Scotland, with equality and fairness at its heart, which is much more of an embodiment of the spirit of togetherness than anything that the union can provide or anything that the union ever will be. So if you believe in what togetherness actually means, if you believe in building community and looking out for each other in society, then join us in the fight for independence, because that's what independence is all about. An independent Scotland will be born by the creativity and imagination of our people. We have spent far too much of our time worrying about whether the union is going to give us permission. We don't need anyone's permission to start building the foundations of our new country now. And if Westminster doesn't engage in the question of Scotland's future, then they are simply making themselves irrelevant to Scotland's future, because we're going to start building it regardless. It's important to be realistic. We know that independence isn't happening tomorrow or the next day. But at the same time, do not underestimate the power of what you decide to do now, because what we decide to do now brings the destination closer to us. The power is in all of us right now to start building a new Scotland together. And I just want to finish by making one final point, that sometimes a change in culture is the very thing that makes political change possible. There was a shift in Scottish culture in the years before Scotland achieved a devolved parliament. So political change often becomes possible when the culture is ready. So let's focus on building a culture of independence, because it's that sense of normalisation of the creativity and imagination of our people that will lay the foundations of an independent Scotland. Thank you so much.
That was the gifted Andrew Barr. Follow him on Twitter and buy his exquisitely illustrated books. We shall finish where we started, and this final bit goes to Gordon McIntyre Kemp.
I just wanted to come up again at the end and actually see how many hardy souls made it to the end of the event. Thank you very much for your support, for your hard work. A couple of things I want to finish off with. Okay, so what next? What do we do next? Well, on the 28th of this month, Believe in Scotland is going to Hoyk for a campaign day. We've had about 7 of these already. We take people from all over the country and we hit a town and we leaflet every single door in the town and we put loads of stands on the streets. We have an 8-page leaflet specifically for the borders that says what independence will do for the borders. We are taking the fight to the areas where yes support needs to rise. We had about 100 people, if you include the Yes Bikers at Moffat. So please do come along to that. Also, today, thousands of people have been sharing the Still Yes hashtag. So on your way home, or when you get home, share the Still Yes hashtag. If you've got the picture of the poster from the National on your window, share that today, share it tomorrow, and tell people why you believe in Scotland. If you put the Still Yes hashtag or Believe in Scotland hashtag in there, then we'll pick it up and reshare it. I also want to point out we've got a stall down here, Believe in Scotland materials, etc. Come and speak to us. I'll be down there if anyone wants to speak to me at the end as well. But I've got a bit of an announcement. You know that we've launched a crowdfunder earlier this month. When campaigning costs money, I'm not asking you to donate to it. What I'm going to tell you is that we set a target of £60,000 over 5 weeks of this crowdfunder. We're 6 days into it, and we're only a few £100 away from hitting our 5-week target. Don't let anyone tell you there isn't an aptitude to actually campaign for independence. Thank you if you've given to that crowdfunder already. I've put this image up here. You may see that on your way home. We have got billboards across the Central Belt. We've got the Clydeside Expressway with a Still Yes image. And this image here, Independence is Normal, is right across Edinburgh right now, and about 9 or 10 electronic billboards. We're already spending the money that people have given to that crowdfunder, so thank you very much. We campaign when others complain. We are Believe in Scotland, and we are going to make a difference. You are Believe in Scotland, and you're going to make the difference. Thank you very much, and good night.